Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels. Let me adjust this and kind of speak up here. I do appreciate your time today. Now, I do want to warn you, this video we are going over today is going to be very sobering and very triggering. Yesterday was the Disability Day of Mourning in regards to what was known as filicide of people with disabilities who are murdered by spouses, significant others, caretakers, parents, and siblings. It was established 5 years ago to honor the victims of filicide and their stories instead of glorifying or throwing sympathy towards their murderers. I wanted to read through the names and the stories, even unfortunately I can't share my screen with you, so that they can be remembered. And again, even though it's not a part of this series, this is why it matters. The first name on the list for last year is Hinku Noade for Sekunda, South Africa. He was 17 years old and he passed on January the 16th, 2020. This is from the website disabilitymemorial.org. The cause of death was multiple murder. Disability was muscular dystrophy. The other victims was Lizelle Nade, 52, and Tina Nade, 83. When 17-year-old Hinko researched the symptoms of his disability, his father got angry. He shot Hinko, his mother, and his grandmother in their beds and then killed himself. Hinko was a gifted high school student, an excellent chess player. Perpetrator was Andre Noade, the father. John Miller III died on January the 17th, 2020 at the age of 30. Cause of death was neglect. Disability was Down syndrome with autistic traits. John's parents neglected him until one day his father called the police and explained that his son was dead. John's body was found on his bed, extremely emaciated, dirty, and covered in bed sores. He had not seen a doctor in 9 years. His death was ruled to be caregiver neglect. Perpetrator John Miller Jr., father, and Maria Miller, mother, both charged with second-degree murder and second-degree vulnerable adult abuse. Samantha Roberts. She is from Nakusa, Wisconsin, USA. Died on January the 17th, 2020. Age of death is 20 years old. Samantha was bludgeoned to death by her mother's boyfriend. She liked to go on walks with her grandfather. When she was a little girl, she liked Animal Planet and Dr. Seuss books. Perpetrator Paul M. Carter, mother's boyfriend, charged with first-degree intentional homicide. Thomas Vava died January the 17th, 2020. Age at death, 8. Cause of a death, abuse. He was from Long Island, New York, USA. Disability, autism. Thomas lived with his father and his father's fiancée. He and his brother were often starved and made to sleep in the unheated garage. One freezing night, Thomas died from hypothermia. Thomas was friendly and well-liked second grader who enjoyed playing outside. When he was 2, he spoke his first words, ball and go, while playing with a therapist, rolling a ball back and forth. He also liked pretzels. Perpetrator Michael Vava, father. Angelina Polana, father's girlfriend, charged with second-degree murder. This one's in my own backyard. Dustin Baggett died January the 18th, 2020. Age at death, 15. Cause of death, murder. Location, Florissant, Missouri, USA. Disability, autism. Dustin was pulled out of his burning house by firefighters, but died a day later in the hospital. The fire was investigated and shown to be arson set by a man who lived in his house. Dustin's neighbors had long been worried about he and the other children in his house were being treated. They called the authorities repeatedly. Dustin, though nonverbal, was a friendly boy and constantly smiling. A neighbor remembers, "We all kind of took him in, knowing he needed our love." Perpetrator, Bobby Kopass, household member, charged with first-degree arson and murder. Moving on here. Asop, January the 28th, 2020. Age at death, 3. Cause of death, fatal abuse. Location, Kurukupet, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. Disability, intellectual disability, mobility impaired, unspecific disorder of nerves. When her son was taken to the hospital, and Sen's mother claimed that he had tripped and fallen while playing, he died of his injury 3 days later. However, the autopsy and investigation found that he could not have been tripped because he could not walk yet. His mother admitted during that she had beaten him because she did not want a child with a disability. Perpetrator Nadia, charged with murder. Rosalia Garofalo died January the 29th, 2020. Age of death, 52. Cause of death, abuse. Location, Marsala, Sicily, Italy. Disability, stroke. Rosalia had been abused by her husband many times over her marriage. Her husband beat her to death over the course of 3 days. Perpetrator, Vincenzo Facillo, husband, charged with murder. Jordan Barrera died January the 31st, 2020. Age at death, 7. Cause of death, neglect. Location, Bay City, Texas. Disability, Down syndrome. Jordan was found dead in her bed when police were called for a welfare check to her mother's house. Her mother was arrested, and her 2 younger siblings taken into foster care. Perpetrator, Lauren K. Dean, mother, charged with felony child abandonment and endangerment. Masatoshi Chiba died February the 2nd, 2020. Age 74. Cause of death, murder. Disability, unspecific chronic disease. Details. Masatoshi was strangled by his wife, who said she was worn out from looking after him. Perpetrator, Misoko Chiba, wife, arrested and confessed to murder. Makisha Maynard died February the 9th, 2020. Age at death, 8. Cause of death, murder-suicide. Location, Corona, Trinidad and Tobago. Disability, autism. Makisha's father beat her to death with a cutlass because she wet the bed. He hung himself the next day. Makisha knew her numbers, colors, and shapes, but had trouble writing. Perpetrator, Michael Maynard. Five-year-old girl, name unknown, died February the 10th, 2020, in Marietta, Georgia, USA. Disability, unspecified, used breathing tube. This little 5-year-old girl was strangled by her mother. Shekina Akbar, mother, charged with murder, aggravated assault, and child cruelty. Derek Christoph, died February the 14th, 2020. Age at death, 40. Cause of death, abuse. Location, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, USA. Developmental disability. Derek's father, who was regularly abusive, beat him to death with a broom handle. Derek died of internal bleeding. Perpetrator, Ellsworth Hull, father, charged with second-degree murder. David Asop, died February 15th, 2020. Age at death, 67. Cause of death, abuse. Location, Derby, England, UK. Disability, dementia. David was exploited by a woman who moved in with him as his caregiver. She beat him on a regular basis and told his friends and family that the bruises were from falls. The beatings eventually killed him. David leaves behind a twin sister. Perpetrator, Magdalena Kosova, caregiver and roommate. Sheriff Van der Ploeg, died February 15th, 2020. Age of death, 60. Cause of death, murder. Disability, terminal lung cancer. Sheriff was dying of cancer when her ex-husband smothered her to death. His actions, Sheriff's daughter told the court, had robbed her of her precious time with her mother. Instead of grieving normally after her mother's natural death on hospice care, she had to come to terms with her mother's death while giving evidence to police about her murder. Sheriff was introverted, family-oriented woman who always waved and greeted her neighbors when she saw them. Perpetrator, Cornelius Van der Ploeg, pleaded guilty to murder, sentenced to 6 years of life. Marva Gurgis, died February 22nd, 2020. Age at death, 58. Cause of death, murder. Location, Merrick, New York, USA. Disability, rheumatoid arthritis. Marvat and her husband got into an argument over sink repairs, which her husband escalated by strangling her to death. John Gurgis' husband charged with intentional murder. Michiko Hayashi, died March 3rd, 2020. Age at death, 72. Cause of death, murder-suicide. Location, Ikashi, Hyogo Prefecture, Japan. Disability, dementia. Michiko's son stabbed her to death. Perpetrator, Shingo Hayashi. Shoko Takahashi, died March 4th, 2020. Age at death, 82. Cause of death, abuse. Location, Hiratsuka, Kaganawa Prefecture, Japan. Bedridden. Shoko's son beat her to death because she wouldn't take her medicine. Noboru Takahashi's son arrested on suspicion of murder. Mitsuo Oshima, died March 7th, 2020. Age of death, 72. Cause of death, murder. Disability, unspecified. Required caregiver. Mitsuo's wife killed him. She said she was tired of being his caregiver. Perpetrator, Hitomi Oshima. Grace Kaldenberg. Died March 8th, 2020. Age of death, 79. Cause of death, murder-suicide. Location, Texas City, Texas, USA. Disability, elder nursing home resident. Grace was shot by her husband in a murder-suicide. Perpetrator, Donald Eugene Kaltenberg. Heather Wagoner. March 11th, 2020. Age of death, 41. Cause of death, murder-suicide. Location, Lakeland, Florida. Disability, multiple sclerosis. Heather was going through divorce proceedings with her husband when he shot her dead and then killed himself. A friend described Heather as a daddy's girl with a Georgia Southern accent, a doting mother to her grown daughter who never judged others and would drop everything to help someone in need. She was a talented photographer whose favorite subject was the best moments of people's lives. She worked for Geico. Perpetrator, Mike Wagoner. Estranged husband. We're going to have to bust this up in two parts as I don't want to overwhelm my camera. I'm going to go ahead and upload this and I will continue with the second half. I do appreciate your time this afternoon. Please hit the like button and comment. I'll be right back with you.